So I haven't fed the Googa Beast for my YouTube channel recently, and figured might as well go ahead and do this since I was just working on my resume and kind of go through a little bit of this. So of course, InDesign is pretty much it for layout. I mean, you're not going to get much better than that. Um, Anyways, all you got to do is there's a million and one different layouts out there. You know, nothing in this world is 100% unique. So you can just type in resume layouts or design examples or something. Of course, it helps if I spell it correctly. And you just get up bombarded with whatever. And I mean, look, oh, look, there's one. Who knew? Uh, so you really can go and just choose your own flavor. There's a lot of nice ones out there. You're still going to need to know a little bit about InDesign itself and how to lay it all out, how to structure it. The one things that I can say is just make sure that when you're creating colors, um, the colors themselves are actually in for color print process just because you can always, go in here and look at the swatch options and make sure that you're set up for CMYK. Those values, it just makes printer life so much easier. Other things is as you import, like say images from Illustrator, the layers are going to get a little funky. Just group them together. You don't need to know every single gray value that's in there. And even though they're reading out as RGB, once you go into your swatch options, you can convert that over to CMYK, even though the label is still RGB. And this is just because Illustrator likes to do that. It happens with signatures and little things or icons that you might put out. But some of the more interesting things is typography. For whatever reason, hyphens, and whenever you're playing with typography and do print, we always tend to do left justification, and that just kind of it makes the it makes the paragraph stagger better. It's more magazine quality, more things like that. Seems to be real common, when doing print. Um, Bullet lists, you can select text. You got options in your bullet lists. You can choose what kind of bullets. You can add pretty much any glyph from any font. So, like a lot of people go to the, what is it, Wingdings? Yeah, just because it's got a lot of goofy looking stuff. You can add whatever Unicode character you want. Also, if you're on a MacBook, you can actually hit your little function key, and you can search for uh, like little arrows. And look, there's the right pointing raku as it is in ASCII. You need to change it all up, and then you can actually select your sentencing structures. You can change the gapping between things. Um, there's all kinds of things. The main panels and Illustrator, just like Photoshop and all the other Adobe products, there's a dozen panels, if not more. I mean, under window alone, you have all of these panels, and then each one of those panels has a sub panel. I can promise you this, you're not going to use all of them just to do a layout. Uh, the tools that you're probably going to, most likely use are obviously, creating text boxes and being able to, change the fonts and all that fun stuff. And there's a lot of different ways that the panels show the same information. I mean, you can see even up there as I'm changing it, it's changing it there. You can adjust size. Colors are, pretty simple if you have a color created, or you can just come over here, double click that, and enter whatever RGB value, and it will automatically coordinate to CMYK. So, what, just 23, 23, 23, and thus it will automatically do that. And you can make sure that when you click between the two, make sure you add it as a CMYK swatch. And it'll automatically come over here, whatever name you gave it. Other than that, just knowing a little bit about fonts, changing font styles. Margins are pretty important. Um, you can have rulers. You can just drag rulers over and, create your own thing. The other major thing that I know a lot of designers don't necessarily mess around with is the tabs. There's a lot of powerful things that you can do with tabs, such as, the leading dots here. This is just something that as you get into it, uh, these justifications and everything just kind of become a little bit of second nature, and you'll learn that this is left, center, right, return characters, the position and how far over they are. As you can see, I'm selected here, and I'm at 0.1228 for my inner margins against uh, the leading raku there, and all that was, set up there. First line indent, left indentation, little tiny things like that. And of course, the greatest thing is clicking preview, and you can see, your changes happen immediately on the background. So if you wanted to adjust things, you can kind of see where the tab indents are going to fall. And it's just a lot of powerful tools that you have, especially when it comes to the tabs for additional layouts. These layouts are pretty straightforward. A lot of it seems to be more about spacing and how much can you fit. My extensive timeline is, all the way back to, the beginning of 2000. And even before then, it's just, you just let things fall off. I always tell people try to have a resume that can be printed front, back on one page. Try not to be a complete ink sucker. Most people at least will turn this grayscale and run it through real quick. The blowout text is still very legible. And as an artist or graphics designer, I tend to add little things. Like, for instance, this is not exactly straight, nor is my signature here. And some of that's just playful to see who mentions it. You got to remember, you're in an interview here. These people have probably read, at least a dozen resumes, if not more, before you. I tend to try to, make little tiny enhancements like this, where literally I rotated this um, by I do 1228 times 3, and so that would be 3.684 degrees, that is on a rotation of. And so it's just something that stands out a little bit because it doesn't meet the baseline grid, and when it's actually previewed, um, and you can go to screen view and preview it, it kind of stands out a little bit. It doesn't scream at you, but people look at it and they might question why, and then you just have a little antidote. Well, I don't ever think straight, so when it comes to my professions, I always tend to think outside the box, and so I guess I'm just a little askewed that way. Little tiny droplets like that just seem to help in the interview. Of course, links and hyperlinks, they're very helpful. This is a PDF document, so you can be kind of, more technology driven. So this one, links obviously to my phone number. This one links obviously to an email address, and then this one links to a website. Adding links is really simple. Highlight the text you want. You can go to type and turn it into a hyperlink. It'll just basically be new hyperlink or hyperlink from URL. In this case, it's already one. So if we look at the edit panel, you have the options to do a file, email, page, text anchor, and this will just move people through the PDF document. Same way with page, it'll take them to a page number within the PDF document. A file, maybe you have a text version of your resume and you want to include a text version, you can link it directly to a file that's embedded in the document so that if they open that up, it is just a pure text document that has all of your information in it. And of course, creating a text document is just, copying and pasting this and making sure you have a few enter spaces between there. Um, it's all the same stuff. Uh, these leading dots, like I said, that came from tabs. So that's again just under type tabs. You get all that, and then the leader is what it actually is. I'm not too sure why it's not highlighting that leader the way I want it to. Maybe it's because I'm not attached to it and I don't have that proper tab selected. Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay, so there's the leader for the right justification, and you can see all the fractions line up exactly on the right justification of that line. It is 212 inches. I tend to play with numeric numbers just because I like to do that. Um, in this case, 1228 is an anniversary of mine and my wife's, so I'm not too shy about holding that back. Um, I do also make sure that this is 100% readable to screen readers, and usually when they actually export this, sometimes the screen readers will actually read this as like, oh, this is 27 periods, and it will sound very strange. Um, and so what I do is you can actually hide specific text from screen readers, and that's just under object export options. You select the whole text frame, and you could actually add your own structure in there if you wanted to. But what I do is I come here as part of tagged, and I add it as an artifact rather than from structure, which is its normal setting. I can show you that. So right click, object export. Yeah, from structure is basically just text. Read this text. Don't worry about it. Read this text. But in the case of not having to read, 22 periods, 33 periods, 42, whatever the number may be, I turn this off. Oops. I turn this off and I turn it into an artifact. I then will go in later and I will do a layer. And so in some cases, I will completely hide the content, and I have an alley layer, which is accessibility. I call it A11Y because accessibility is a 13-letter word, and there's 11 numbers or 11 digits in the center. Um, so you can see what I did is I kind of like highlighted right here, and you can almost see like this little hidden element. And what the hidden element does, and this is, basically just behind the blue. If I move the blue, you'll see my little icon here. And yes, it's a Shiba Inu. I have many dogs. But anyways, I will actually create this particular object with an alt text that matches the exact text that it is trying to read. And so this time it'll just read Adobe Suite 10 of 10, Illustrator 10 of 10. Uh, that's just one of those little features that as you start working with InDesign, and if you happen to be in accessibility or in the accessibility field, you're always trying to make sure that your documents read as properly as they possibly can. And adding a bunch of dots in there is just a no-go. I did the same thing. Yep. So you can see I got two here. I got this little Shiba guy here, and his export options will be that list. Yep. All the CSS, jQuery, JavaScript, all that fun stuff. And I just hide that in a layer behind everything. Um, in print, nobody's going to notice it. When they're looking at it in PDF, nobody will notice it. If they turn on a screen reader, they will notice it. I try not to hide all of them because there are some useful ones, like this little guy here. It is another Shiba Inu, but in this case, many people tend to ask me my dog's names. I, for the fun of it, just happen to put that one there, and if they mention it, they'll ask why, and I'll be like, oh, well, that's one of my accessibility glyphs, just to kind of add my dog names, Jasmine, Bradbury, Ari, Maya, Zuko, and Xena. They're all family Shibas, and I've been raising them. I think we've had 4 litters now, and it's just something I like to do because I do enjoy dog training and making sure I can uh, lead into that with a little bit of a cuteness as to why that Shiba is there. Um, I use ChatGPT to help me with my text. I try my best to write my own. And then, of course, since I write a lot like I talk, I tend to be a little bit over developed in language, or I'll have too much, and I can go to a ChatGPT window and be like, hey, help me with this, shorten it a little bit, make sure my grammar is good. And of course, AI is perfect for that. Um, anyways, the layout, you just go through and try to match your design as much as you want. Customize it how you see fit. That's the most important thing. You don't have to make their exact font. You don't have to meet, anybody's exact measurements because all you're getting is basically, oh, I like the blues and I like the popping headers there. That makes a lot of sense. And then you get little things like that where you start to do the more fancy dot transitions from left to right justification, bolds, italics, points, hyperlinks, um, little glyphs like this. Um, because text for me, when it gets cut off, I always want to know that text was part of another page. And there's many ways that you can denote page break. At least to another graphics designer, they'll understand a little bit about that. They've probably seen it before. And again, I just play with numbers. So this is 1 dash, 2 dash, 2 dash, 8 dash, 8 dash, 2 dash, 2 dash, 1 dash, and then notating that page break. And it's just a little glyph. Again, 1228 is just an anniversary number that I throw in there. It's a way to do fun little things that if somebody happens to ask about it, and I have had a couple of people ask me about little things in my resumes and previous ones. It's just once again another anecdotal story that you chose this for a reason. Um, Fun stuff like that. If you have, I created a custom page here, and the idea behind this custom page is that it should not be printed. You can't control what they actually do, but you can add, obviously your regular pages are 8.5 by 11. A spread will be 2 pages. And then when I created this extra one, I call this the fallen because I want it to fall off. This is something that if somebody's viewing my viewing my work in a PDF, they can click on these links and go to, see some of the stuff that I've designed that ended up going into physical objects. Because of course, a designer, they have a portfolio of digital stuff. They can print it out and they can make it look cool. I try to focus on my physical tokens because they already get the design was there in order to make the physical. So for me, yeah, my hobby is playing with a CO2 laser. Of course, I'm gonna, show off my laser uh, objects that I've created by my designs, and it's just fun stuff like that. Another talking point, and not something that, at least since I had the CO2 laser, of course, it's, that's an easy talking point, and I make sure to mention that in my company profile because, I myself being the founder of the company, I have graphics design expertise and leverage the utilization of a class 3 CO2 laser. Um, that's another process in itself, but it's just another leveraging point to talk and have that interview and, kind of enjoy the conversation so you're not so, I don't know, stressed or focused out on things. Um, I mentioned that, my text up here is slightly rotated. Well, it's also two different colors. And, well, it should be, but it's not. Why isn't why isn't my eye in? Oh, you see that? Look, it replaced it. Oh, see, that should be not that dark, but there we go. All right, so G03, and then I got an AP. There it is, G03. I don't know why. So the reason why I do this is, um, again, anybody who's gone to design or taken any kind of classes where you got teachers talking to you about different design concepts, this was this was a concept or a class assignment that said take something that you want to make perfect and create a logo out of it. And something that I've always struggled with is, for whatever reason, signing my name. I am I either have to sit there and try a bunch of times, but normally what'll happen is I sign my name, and for whatever reason, I go from the M to the C and almost have like what looks like two E's instead of an A and an E. I always mess up with it because it feels very loopy, and you sign your signature, you get that little loopiness going, and the momentum is hard to stop and correct yourself because as I'm going through it, I realize, I'm dotting basically nothing in the air. If we didn't have the gray things here, my signature would essentially, look almost something like that. And of course, I drew it out on a piece of paper several times, finally scanned it, put it into Illustrator. That's me trying really hard to sign my name, but I still miss that I, and I still don't don't come down through my A. And so in art class, I was like, you know what? If I had to fix my signature, because I'm always trying to perfect it, how would I perfect it? And that's how I would try to perfect it. And keeping it two tones is remembering that, I might sign my name one way, but it's always meant to look like another. And I'm always trying to perfect my signature because I don't think I can, ever really do that for whatever reason. Maybe it's the artist in me, the flow and the swirlies. I want to stick with the swirlies, and I don't stop for that I, and I don't lift the pen that much. So for me, the Michael in my name, I've always wanted to fix it, and the way I fixed it, well, it's now a little graphic logo. And I make sure to add my little imperfections and their corrections just by a shadow. Fun art project. I had a lot of fun with it. This is like the sixth version of it, but same concept. You know, there's always a little something that I got to correct in it. Nobody's perfect, but make sure you list your qualifications. You know your job stuff. You know what you do. List your applications. List your languages. I put the downtime in there just because, hey, it's fun. And in this case, I'm learning more about creating some AI machine learning stuff with an AI that's designed to help people use their phones when they might not have the ability to see or fingers even. So talking to your phone and doing complex operations, uh, that's very helpful to some people, and that's, well, why add that in there? And then of course I have, my dog training and my camping, and the many rabbit holes of the theory of everything. And this is, I mean, that's if that's not a talking point and somebody asks you about it, be like, well, if you're not sure what the theory of everything is, then, go look it up and kind of think about it, because you've heard about it in a lot of different things. This is something that even, Stephen Hawking himself believed heavily in. And even Google breaking their records with their new processor in quantum mechanics and quantum computing. Them saying that, this chip solved it. Hey, it's a talking point. It's whatever you can talk about yourself and what you know, and feel comfortable in the interview. The layout comes in time and playing around with text. The other thing that I do notice, at least a lot in, is, sometimes those hyphens will start to really mess with you. And even though in this case, high quality is already hyphened, it's, being nice and breaking the word there. But if I didn't want that, you can select the text. Then you can do some kerning changes. And right here, you can actually squish the letters together more and more until it fits on one sentence. That doesn't always look right, so make sure you don't, you know, intentionally squish it to heck. But as you even try, maybe just select this much of it and see, all right, well, can we get that? Can we get the word quality? Oops, not playing with font size. I'm playing with the kerning. Oh, and see, and it just keeps adjusting the sentences above it. Well, yeah, see? But in this case, I left that one hyphen because it was already hyphened. But in other ones, you can come over to it and you can hit return. It'll do that. If you hit shift return, it will try to keep the right and left justification, but it does create gapping. So you don't want too much gapping because then that looks strange as well. In my case, I tailored some of the words to not have that many hyphens. Um, but once you save it, you just do a file, you do an export, give it a name that you know, put it in a directory that you want, and save it. In my case, I'm going to overwrite my current PDF there. I'm going to do all my pages and keep all that pretty much the most generic I can. I'm going to export it, and that's done. The great thing about this is once you're done with a resume, you now need to put it out there. I highly suggest getting a Dropbox, and once you sign up for Dropbox, you basically can create a URL to share this. In this case, here's my PDF, and this is the one that I want. I just exported it. I'm going to see that it's already shared. I'm going to create a share link, and this will allow anyone with this link to view and manage. I'm going to copy that. Okay, and then I went over to Bitly, and Bitly is a free thing that you can sign up for. I signed up using my Google account. Once you get into here, you just make sure you sign up for the free plan, because you're not going to use their API. You're not going to do much. I only use like 50% of it, and that's 4 links that they give you for free. So you're gonna create this link. You're gonna come down here, and here's my resume, excuse me. Here's my resume. I can view link details and come over here. I could edit this link and change the destination. In this case, I've already got it set up. My short URL I chose is obviously my name. That's the back half of the link. And when I go to this URL, I can copy it, paste it. It takes me straight to a public version of Dropbox. This one does have my info card, it looks like, so that means it's got a, yep, that's got that in the bottom. Uh, Everything in here is pretty much ready to go. They can print it. This is just a PDF viewer that obviously Dropbox supplies. This is all their stuff. I just didn't want to have to send this long URL, so I created a little short one. And now I can put that anywhere. I went to my LinkedIn profile and let's see. Yep, LinkedIn. There I am. And I put it right there. So this one will be bit.ly, yep, bit.ly/Michael Coleman, and they click it, bam, it's loading everything I need. At any given time, if I update my resume, I export this out again. This time I have two of them in here. I'll go ahead and export it with the info card, so all my latest is there. And as soon as I export it, then in my folders for Dropbox, I could modify it directly, and it would then just be saved on my local, uploaded to Dropbox, and then when anybody clicked that short URL, this is what they get. Easy way to keep your resume online and fresh. Use Dropbox Sync app, and it will automatically keep everything in the folder. Make sure you uh, export just one, and you can kind of see here, there's the 1-1 behind accessibility there. Um, I forgot that this is a good version of this as well. Uh, but yeah, it's a good way and an easy way to keep your resume up to date. Have fun.